First trip, I can't see everybody at Village Hall.
Okay, hold on.
In the trustees room.
Oh, sorry.
Much better, thank you.
Okay.
Are ready to go, Chip?
Yeah, go ahead and start the meeting.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome everyone to the April 20th, 2020 Board of Trustees meeting. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one
nation
nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Start with a review of the resolutions. Resolution approving amended Fredonia Opera House 5K run walk. Any questions or comments?
I hope they can hold it in July.
Yes, be a good thing. I think it was just a change in the only the closure of Church Street instead of using all the Barker Commons and so forth. So that's a revision of their original request. So hopefully, like Kara said, they can hold it in July. Okay, number 2, request from the Fredonia Farm Festival. Any questions? Any comments?
And it didn't make it quite clear that we're enacting it just in case,
Because we're required to.
because we're required to. And I just wanted to make it clear to the public that this is just a precautionary measure that we take in case,
And we do it every year.
and it happens every year, yes. It read kind
Thank you.
of worrisome.
Thank you for clarifying that. Anything else on that?
No, in fact, I would agree. The first line of that resolution says, whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia desires to override the property tax cap.
Yes, that was a little confusing, I agree, Roger.
And it goes on to say, if the village board determines it necessary to do so, but still that first, it almost gives the inference that we want to do it. Is there a better way we can state that, or is that how it's got to be, Dan?
Is that different than it's been in the past?
I don't know.
Is it worded differently? Anybody remember? Anybody know?
Even if it was may desire, may need to override the property tax cap as opposed to desires to.
Anne Marie, is that how it read last year?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Maybe Dan could reword it for us, but that's what I took from last year and the year before.
Okay, so then that's the way we've always done
That's
it.
it, all right.
Thank
But
you.
I think we should revisit that wordage.
Again, as long as the public's aware that it's just in case we absolutely need to. We're not planning on it.
Right, and it's required by law that we do this.
Right.
Alrighty, anything else on it? Okay, number 4, official newspaper designated. I'm assuming that's the Observer.
Yes.
Is there a reason why we're doing that in the banks now as opposed to after June 1st? Don't normally you do that after your year starts?
Yeah, it was done last year in April as well.
Don't know if it should be or not. I don't know.
I'm sorry, I don't. No.
I'm just curious because it seems like all governing boards, municipalities, schools, everything does it after the start of the year. So I was just curious as to why we were doing it now. It may not matter.
Actually, I was wondering why we didn't do it in January when we did all the appointments.
We probably could start it to do it in January from now on.
That's a whole other discussion though, because if our fiscal year is June 1 to May 31st,
Right.
should we be doing them in January?
Well, we make all the appointments of personnel the annual appointments of personnel in January.
Because they
If-
still, but they run from January to December. It's a different year for
Right.
that.
Yeah, if I remember
so
right,
can't the paper in the bank?
in the years ago, we had done it a little bit, actually more towards the beginning of the year. But for some reason, it was overlooked or put off a little bit.
Maybe.
And so we, just got to it when we got to it. So I think that's why it's at where it is now.
Is Dan Guard with
It
us
just needs to be
tonight?
done.
Yes,
Yes, he's here.
Dan, is it possible to look into, I mean, why are we tied to a fiscal year June 1st through May 31st? Is it possible to change it to the calendar year?
It is possible to change it. The reason that we have those dates is because those are the dates for the New York State Village Law.
Right?
And so it's been that way a long time, but there is a provision to change it. It hasn't been discussed before, so I couldn't quote it to you off the top of my head, but there is a provision to change it to the calendar year or whatever you'd like.
Well, maybe we also used to have elections in the spring, so
Right.
it might have something to do with
Yeah,
the changeover in a new board.
right. I think that may very well be the case. When elections used to be in March,
Right.
that made sense that the budget didn't go into effect until June. But maybe we should have a conversation at some point about aligning the budget year with the calendar year.
Only problem I see with that, even on, is our taxes, the village taxes are staggered opposite the town and county taxes, and staggered probably a different time too from the school taxes. So I don't know as if that would put our village taxes in the same timeline as the town and county or the school taxes.
Actually, it wouldn't change our village tax time. It would just change our.
I know everything's kind of separated right now. I don't know if that'd make a difference, if
Maybe
that's
a referendum
a
for that.
problem or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it would be a problem because it wouldn't change our tax
Okay,
collection
moving
time.
forward, official banks designated.
Okay.
We have 2 or 3 official banks that we use. Is there any questions or any comments on that?
And did you get an opportunity to look up the addresses or at least the cities of the other 2 banks that aren't listed in the resolution?
I did, Roger. I have the cities for both of the MBIA and JP Morgan and Chase.
Were we
Okay.
looking at,
Can you give me
Using
those
fewer
and I can
banks.
write them in for the resolution?
Yes, well, M&T, of course, is Fredonia. MBIA is Clifton Park, New York.
Okay.
JP Morgan and Chase is San Antonio, Texas.
were we,
Great, thank you.
did we at one point, I can't remember, discuss
Any other
combining
comments or-
accounts
Hello?
and having fewer? Can they hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, number 6, advertise
Hey,
for
Doug?
poly.
Hey, I have a
catatonic,
question.
Doug?
Polymer, potable water,
can't.
coagulant, liquid
I don't
form.
think he can hear us.
Polyaluminum
He's not hearing
chloride,
us.
water, coagulant, liquid form. Polyorthophosphate, powdered blend and organic phosphates, and liquid chlorine, ferric chloride, and synthetic flocculant for the 2020-2021 year. And that's the only time I'm going to say that. Is there
Can
any
you-
questions or any comments on that?
Can you hear me, Doug? It's
Is that all
Kara.
for the
They can't
They
hear.
water
can't hear
treatment
us.
plant, I'm assuming?
Yes.
I'll get it fixed. Hold on. Just give me a minute.
Tell them
Doug?
to wait.
Tell them to wait a minute.
Okay, moving on to number 7, advertise
Can
for
you wait a
water
minute?
meters and
He's not hearing you
fuel
either.
for
He can't.
2020-2021 year. Any comments or any questions on that?
Can you text
Is
Anne Marie and
Tony-
tell her to tell them to wait?
On with us?
Yeah, I'm doing it through my cell audio. Laptop still isn't loading properly.
So for the water meters,
Does she have a
are we
phone
gonna
with
start
her?
replacing more? Is that what that's for? Or is that just the normal amount that
They can't hear
we
you
always
either,
have on
Jim.
hand?
That's always, that's just for the replacement pricing, per annual. It's not a big project, it's just the annual, price you request for replacement of existing meters to new meters.
Okay. Are we, have you made any headway or are we any closer to doing the project that, we've talked about as far as replacing, having a, procedure for replacing meters?
Yes, I told Neptune because of COVID and everything that's been going on. There's several things that I put on hold for you people, all of us. One is that, a presentation by Neptune, a presentation by Eagle Radio for the narrowband radios. Right now,
Can they
they're
see
all
you?
on hold,
Wave?
waiting for these
If we
things
just
to
all
clear
jump
up.
up
so
and
they
down,
can come
they can see
and
us.
put in a few people in person.
Okay, just curious, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions on that?
Wave,
jump
up and down.
Anne Marie?
I don't think the board, can you hear us, Eva Dawn?
No.
We can hear you. You can't hear us.
We can hear you. You can't hear us.
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay.
'Cause I'm-
Doug,
'cause
can
I'm
you hear
speaking
us?
extra loud.
Yes, I can hear you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Kara had a question about the banks.
Yeah, we couldn't. It wasn't working, so we need to back up a little bit about the banks.
Nope, too late.
No, it's not. It's never
Okay.
too late for my questions. But I'm just curious. I thought we had a conversation, or maybe I dreamt it. I don't know about using fewer banks. Don't we use like many banks? And do we need to use that many banks? And would it make sense to consolidate? Just a question that we can think about or talk about.
I would not know the answers to that. I don't know if Dan would have any thought on that.
I think that there was only a matter of 3 banks, but I think there were as many as 15 bank accounts. And there was some discussion about consolidating
Maybe that was it.
accounts within those 3 banks.
The issue with the many accounts, the majority of them are special accounts, like capital projects accounts, things of that nature.
Right.
When
That's okay.
Rick left as treasurer and I looked at everything, it seemed like they were all necessary for projects that were still going on. That was a couple years ago, so we could look at that again if we wanted to.
Yes, I believe that Jim suggested we could do with fewer accounts,
Yeah.
but we'll have to take a look.
Just curious. Might be easier when we get a new treasurer. It might be easier for them to not have to manage so many different accounts or put. Okay, that was my only question.
Okay. Any other resolutions there that was that you can speak, we can all hear? Was that it, Kara, or is there any more?
I think, what are we on right now? Are we on 8, 7?
I don't know.
We're going to be on 8, resolution to hire Heather Kibble,
Okay.
senior account clerk.
Yep, I think we're good.
Resolution to hire Heather Kibble, Kib, I don't know.
Kibby?
Kibby, senior,
Kib,
Kibby as senior account clerk. Any comments or questions? Resolution to award fire hall bid. Just the additional bonding, I believe, was approved at the last meeting. So, I mean, hopefully we can get this going. It's been kind of a pain in the neck here going from the start of this project to where we're at now. It's increased in cost, and we're kind of in a bind because it's going on 3 years, maybe 4. So the fire hall just is going to keep getting deteriorated if we don't act upon this. Are there any other questions or comments? Ryan, did you speak recently to Wendell, and are we all set, ready to go, and whatever process needs to be moving forward?
I spoke with Jerry from Wendell today, and as soon as the board approves the award of the bid and the contract with Wendell, they're ready to proceed forward with the project.
Thank you. Okay, resolution to authorize Wendell Construction Administrative Services associated with the fire hall. Any comments or questions on that? Okay, resolution to approve water treatment plant chlorination system. That is a new system to replace the either liquid or gas chlorine cylinders that we had an issue with, where one.
It's frozen.
My understanding is
a couple months ago.
same for
we're going to a new tablet system, which is much safer, and we don't run into that problem. And this is for health and safety. Any questions or comments?
Who has the supporting documentation on this GPI project? Tony, did you get that, or did that go through Chris?
I thought I gave everyone in their packet.
Oh, here, okay.
It's all in there. It's all in there, supporting documentation.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
As Doug said, this will make for a safer system so that we don't have the problem that we had a month ago when we had the chlorine leak.
Yes, I was there on site with Ryan and others, many others, and in Dunkirk I had 2 bad chlorine leaks because they used gaseous chlorine like Fredonia does. They had 2,000-pound cylinders they use. Fredonia is very lucky we only use 150 pound. Let me tell you what, chlorine leaks like that are very scary. Ryan will attest to this. I would strongly admonish you to get out of the gaseous and go to tablet form. The cost for this engineering service is, I think, reasonable. It's not to exceed $6,000. They gave you a per diem per hour rate to what it would take to get something into the Board of Health for approval. It probably will be less than $6,000, but the bottom line is one life is worth untold millions. And having been through 3 of these in my career, I don't want to do any more, and I don't want my coworkers to go through it anymore. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely correct, Tony. Somebody's life is worth far more than some cost to make it safe.
Yes, thank you.
Tony, thank you to you and Chris for putting this together and getting this done.
Well, you're very welcome. Unfortunately, I went through this with Jerry Falco and Dunkirk after our last bad leak, which took 3 days to air out the buildings, if you will, because that was a much more large leak. I had it all set up to go to the tablet system in Dunkirk before I was not reappointed or whatever. Unfortunately, my guys there are still using gaseous chlorine, which makes me scared. They never followed through on putting it in.
So, Tony, what does it involve changing it over? I mean, can you report on that later on?
Yeah, it's very simple. It's actually a very simple process. There's basically a feed hopper where you put chlorine tablets in, similar to like you would use in a swimming pool. But then there's some SCADA electronic control systems that would control the amount of tablets displaced into the water going into the plant for purification. So there would be like a flow rate meter or distribution system involved. And it's so much easier because you're not dealing with guys having to change out chlorine tanks and masks and valves that fail. It's a solid tablet system that is fed, again, by it's almost like a pellet stove. Think of a pellet stove system where you pour pellets into a hopper and the pellets are dropped into the unit and it's for demand. And I'm very, very simplifying this, but it's just so much easier. If you look at the cost of pellets versus gaseous chlorine, the unit cost is a little pricier, but the safety protocols and the failure rate potentiality is like non-existent for harm to humans. And again, Gus Moss from GPI was going to come up prior to COVID to do any explanatory program for you people, but just like the radios and everything else, I mean, they all put it on hold. So I asked them to document everything, which is in your packet, to the best of their ability, to explain it that way.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that?
Thank you.
No.
Okay, we'll go to new business. Correspondence from Town Supervisor Dan Pecos. Everybody received that copy. It's a copy of the town would like to renegotiate contracts between the Village of Fredonia and the Town of Pomfret for the provision of water and sewer services to residents and businesses of the Town of Pomfret outside the Village of Fredonia. Our two trustees who are on that, Brits and Pecos, I will, maybe if you could contact, or I could contact the town for you, so we'll set up some kind of negotiation process and start beginning to talk about the different rates.
Could you,
In conjunction with that, I'm sorry.
Mayor, could you make sure that that each of the trustees is able to have a copy of those contracts that you're speaking of, so that we could review them in advance?
Sure.
Whether it be emailed or whatever. Thank you.
Yes.
Is there sewer contracts too? Is it just water?
I believe it's just water.
Because I thought
we don't have sewer, do we?
They want to negotiate lower sewer and water rates.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting because it said
There is
that.
some. There is some, I believe.
That they want to do water, sewer, and water rates, and so I think that we should have all of those contracts that are that they claim are pending and available to us. And the letter was a little bothersome when they presented it as almost as if they're looking to go to someone else in advance before even talking to us. But I think the board needs to review that first. Thank you.
It is correct. I mean, that kind of was stated in the letter here. And
yeah, that was
one other thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it was stated that in the letter. Like I said, it was a bit bothersome to that they first presented it that way.
Yep. In addition to the town probably wanting to negotiate fees, a college more than likely will also moving forward here. I believe that's what Jim Sedota was working on with the college, and we'll have to get a hold of Mike Metzger and find out what's going on with that. But I assume moving forward with the college, they probably would also want to renegotiate their water and sewer rates as well. One thing that, in addition with the town fire contract is coming up. We need to seriously look at that and make sure that that's properly done. Any other questions or comments on that? Anne Marie, would you make a note to dig out the contract, please, for the town of Pomfret?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Correspondence from Baggett. Let me go Baggett. I had we contacted 3 local accounting firms. One did not get back to me. One refused to, they weren't able to help us out. Baggett was the only one that gave us a proposal. This is a proposal in case we need some assistance in between what we're doing right now and a new treasurer. I'm not saying, I think our list is doing great right now. So this is a proposal. The board can think about it, review it. If you have any questions right now, please ask them. Any questions, any comments?
My only concern is if you look at the rate and the hours they're estimating, we'd be paying more than we were paying our treasurer. So that concerns me. I don't think we should be doing that.
Actually, you'd only be paying him more if you went to the extreme amount, which is 20 hours a week. I think
That's
that
correct.
if you stay at 10, between 10 and 13, you would pay them less than you pay the treasurer. And I think with the contract, we have the ability to indicate
That's what
that.
I was wondering. I think,
And
can we limit it?
And to say that we won't exceed 12 or 13 hours a week, I think you have that ability to negotiate and include that in the contract. And in that way, you won't pay any more than you'd be paying the treasurer. As a matter of fact, without benefits or health insurance, whatever coverage we were paying, it's less. And again, it's for a temporary period of time, I believe. But I think the oversight
I'm hoping.
is a good thing to have. Some guidance and some advice in accounts payable and payroll at this time.
Yeah, it's less if you limit the person to 2 hours a day. So you're only going to get a couple hours a day to keep it under the treasurer's salary.
Well, how much time do we need?
How much?
Yeah.
per day? I mean, how much time do you think you really need? I mean,
I have no idea. That's why I would have helped Jim.
Our staff will be doing majority of the work, and it's just if there's any question or oversight that needs to be done, that would be it would be requested.
Yeah, I think they propose between 10 and 20, and if we say we don't want to exceed 13 or 12 or 13, I think they're probably fine with that.
Dan, I have a couple of questions for you regarding this. Number one, for internal controls, accounting controls, do we need something like this for Alyssa to be handling processing the payments and signing them as deputy treasurer? Is that a problem where you need this? And by approving to utilize a bag of Rito bag, it would just would we be just approving them to if we needed them, and it's not necessarily getting into any contract with them.
My understanding is that the girls right now don't need them. If they needed them in the future, and we wanted to call them on a per diem basis or something, that's probably what we need.
Okay.
But just with talking with Anne Marie and Larissa, I think that we're in real good shape right now.
Yeah, I would agree that they're very capable, but I also think that we do need some oversight. We've got new employees doing those jobs, and I think it's in their best interest for their protection and ours
Right.
that we have some oversight just briefly.
And yes, and when we went, the last time we had a change in that position, we went through an audit, if you recall. So this would be kind of an oversight similar to that without having to do a complete audit like we did last time, yes?
Yeah,
what
that's
I'm
true.
thinking.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree that they would tell you that they don't need their assistance, and that's true. But I do think that we need to consider them for some oversight, some guidance, and some availability.
I mean,
and we do have an audit
minimally.
scheduled in August that we
Right.
need to prepare for. And
there's filings that have to be made by the end of August.
Yes.
That the oversight would be a good thing.
For a time being.
I just think that's good business for temporary coverage.
And if it could be upon request and at their hourly rate, I mean, I don't know if
Do a minimum, maximum.
So.
Well, they are advertising at $150. They are advertising an hourly rate. They just estimated the time required to perform such reports to range an average of approximately 10 to 20 hours a week.
Right.
Oh.
I think we can stipulate. I think we can stipulate a maximum there, Doug.
What we'll do is we'll need to figure out exactly what they should be doing. They're willing to do anything we want. If we're going to go that way, we should give them specific tasks.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
I agree.
And I think there are specific tasks, and that is to review the accounts payable and to review the payroll at least once a month. We can ask for the list. We can create the list. We talked to Roger Britz. I know you're doing finance. If you have anything you need to add to that list, but I think that there can definitely be any questions with the budget. I think that we should include, you're right, a list, and sit down and create that.
I would think that Alyssa would know also some of the things that, that
she would need help with.
Maybe just a little extra oversight. She seems to be very confident in everything she's doing, but I think that if there's something she would like to have watched, just to make sure that double checked.
And I think the same with payroll. I think you need to ask Michelle. I know there are sometimes some premium payments that are confusing that may be helpful to have somebody just check over.
I mean, once they do it once for her, I think that, she'll have it. It's just a matter of making sure, just double check.
So I will get with Michelle and Alyssa, get specific points that Bagley Rito would assist them with, and probably put that in the form of a resolution here to accept their services after, I would, does the board want me to see if with specific other services that their fees would change, or I'm kind of guessing they're probably about the same, but I could do that if the
I think
board
they
wishes.
said that was the
I
fee,
think they're the same
their fees.
for their full service, and they did explain that it is their, the services listed above. The approval of purchase orders and overseeing accounts payable, overseeing accounts receivable, review of payroll and payroll transfers, and preparation of monthly finance reports, including budgeting consultation. I think that's pretty thorough,
Yeah.
and I think that's
thorough.
pretty inclusive.
And
And
if they-
that's
So
what,
is-
And if they could do it for that short amount of time, and which I believe they can, I mean, they're a full service accounting firm, so I
Yes.
believe they can do that. They wouldn't say it if they couldn't.
So is the services to be provided in an agreement with the trustees of everything that the 4 different services, or does it need to be changed or added to?
well, I think it's a good idea, Doug, that you also ask Alyssa and Michelle and Anne Marie if there are any other services in addition to this list that would be helpful to them.
I also think it's a good idea that we go back to Baggett Laredo and say, okay, this is what we're thinking of. Yes, they can do everything, but if we're going to limit them and limit their time, I think they would be able to give us an estimate too about what they think that proposal should look like.
That's where I was getting at in the beginning. If
Yeah.
it's
What
limited
proposal?
to certain things, then their fee may be different. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it may change their hours,
They might
but
have-
we also have the ability to say, we don't want to exceed 12 hours a week. So can this service, because they're saying that these 4 things, these services, can be provided in approximately 10 to 20 hours per week. So they've listed them, and they've said 10 to 20.
And
And if
they-
we say we don't want to exceed 12, how will that affect that? I don't know.
I don't know, yeah,
Does that make sense?
it does.
They've listed what they are going to offer for 10 to 20 hours a week. But I'd ask her, Alyssa, Michelle, and Anne Marie.
Okay, I will ask those 3 ladies whether or not these services are going to be needed or utilized, and if ones of specific if they are, let me know, and I will get back to the board via email, and then we can, I guess, act on this at the next meeting, if so be,
Sounds good.
on a supplement.
Yep.
Okay. Parker Library interior water damage. There was some roof leakage from the outside. I can let Tony with our DPW employees. The water damage was stopped coming in from the outside. There was some damage to the walls and so forth inside. The question was who's responsible for the inside, and looking at the contract, I believe, and Dan could correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's the library's issue there of correcting any issues that were on the inside. They have the same Lolly insurance that we have. Tony, if you could just elaborate a little bit what was repaired on the outside, and then Dan, if you could elaborate a little bit on the contract after Tony's done.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I got a call from Mark Twitchell 2 weeks ago. He went up there and did some perfunctory repairs where he saw water leakage going in the library. I had 2 of my guys go up the next day to finish repairing temporarily the area of water intrusion. So right now it's watertight as far as water getting into the building. They had an original estimate, I guess, of $6,000 from a contractor to do a more permanent fix. But right now it's stable from the exterior water intrusion. Anything more than that, I think we've addressed it from the village standpoint, but that's up to them after that.
Tony, was it the roof or was it the overhang that the water was coming in?
It was a soffit and the scupper drain, French, the gutters, if you will.
Oh, they got
that
a
we were
French.
leaking. Yep, they got a French drain. It was coming down in through the window casing, in between the double hung windows. When I went in there several months ago and saw the damage, it was very obvious that at that time, the water was getting in through the faulty roof, scupper system, French drain, and coming in between the two wooden casements of the double hung window, and that was what was dripping into the interior of the wall. So the exterior portion of repair has been done for very, very little money between Mark Twitchell and my guys. But going forward, yeah, I think that probably that roof needs to be looked at professionally. I don't think we're responsible. Is that correct for the village or the library?
Tony, while you were talking, I was trying to find my copy of the library contract on the computer. I can't find it, so I haven't had a chance to look yet.
Well, the bottom line is, go ahead.
I believe we are responsible for repairs on the outside. The landlord's responsibility for structure and fixtures. Landlord shall be responsible for the structural repairs to the buildings, including roofs, outside stairs, and plumbing, and shall maintain fire insurance on the facility and fixtures permanently affixed thereto. The cost of the landlord for repairing any damage caused by the tenant will be reimbursed by the tenant to landlord. So on the outside, we are responsible. The tenants, any repairs, let's see, any repairs or replacements to the interior premise, any repairs or replacements to the interior of the premises shall be made by the tenant at the tenant's expense and in good and workmanlike manner. So, Dan can look at that later on. I'm taking that the contract states that we're responsible for the outside of the structure, they're responsible for the inside. I know that if we both have the same insurance company, our deductible was quite high and it didn't make any sense to have them take care of it through the insurance. So, yes, I can make contact with the library and let them know, they should know that the interior is their responsibility. Right. We took care of the outside.
But is that true in a case like this where it was caused by damage from the outside?
Roger, that's what the contract for. Because I'm not sure. Usually that outside inside designation, usually we cover anything that was going on the outside. They would cover anything, like this, the damage to drywall, whatever on the inside. But I've got to look at the contract.
And Tony, do you know how many windows were affected? It looks like at least 2, not 3.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Do you know how many windows were affected?
I only saw one.
Damage?
I only saw one.
I thought this was just one. This is all the same window, isn't it?
It appeared to me it was one, but.
I think this is all the same window.
I think it is. And if I may suggest, I would, knowing that our deductible is so high with the village through insurance, I would, and I already told the library people several months ago when I first went there to assess it, I think it would behoove them to do the normal procurement thing. Get 2 or 3 bids from contractors. From what I heard, they only got one respondent for $6,000. But in the end, if we're responsible for the exterior, then I would offer the thought to you people to tell them to put a purchase order in to the village, like we all have to do, with documentation. They look for outside sourcing other than, one vendor. And if at that point you only have one, then hire them out and get it done. If we have to pay, if our deductible is $10,000 and that one, whoever they talk to, the contractor, came in at $6,000, it is what it is. But it's not going to get better on its own. And what work Mark Twitchell did and my guys did is certainly temporary at best.
Yeah, it needs to be fixed, so let's look into it.
So I have a question. That quote that was received, is that just to repair what we have in the picture or to fix the actual problem?
Well, I think, and I don't have a picture, I only know what I saw when I was there. My understanding from Mark and the board of the library people was that it was from a contractor to fix the original problem outside, not a Band-Aid on the inside.
Okay.
Something of more permanence.
So are they looking for both? Are they looking for the wall to get fixed on the inside and a permanent fix on the outside? Is that what?
The only thing I heard was they wanted me to help them mitigate the outside water infiltration, which we did temporarily, but they were going to look for bids to do a more permanent fix up above. And I have not heard any more than that.
Okay.
There again, I mean, the library people, if they want this resolved properly, in my estimation, they have to do a little work. I mean, if they've already called 3 contractors, but they only got 1 responded, based on New York State procurement law, that's enough of an effort for a project less than $10,000, if I'm not mistaken, Dan. And if they had to, they could hire that contractor to put forth the proposal on how to repair it, and then it would have to go to you people for board resolution to approve it under a purchase order.
Do you want to contact them?
I guess I'd like to see the scope of work for the bid. And
Me too. I don't have it. I don't have it.
so maybe we should ask for that before we go any further.
I think you should all ask for that, definitely. It's just my opinion. I'm not telling you what to do.
Well, Jim's on the
But I
board,
would
so
definitely-
maybe he can reach out to them.
I'll ask them. Ask them for the scope of work.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal as far as getting this done.
No.
But obviously, I want to make sure it's done properly under the procurement law and everything else.
All right. Well, good. Any other comments on that?
No.
Can we go back for a minute, Doug, to the bag at Laredo for just a second? In our conversation, in asking Urlissa and Michelle and Anne Marie, I think it's important that we realize that I think that there are enough of us who want to pursue this agreement, and that it's not that we're asking them if they want this help, but we're asking them what part of the things do they need for help. Because I don't think we should ask them if they need any oversight. I think we are determining that they do, and just for a short period of time, and I think we just need to ask their input as to what it is they need help with, not whether or not they need help. Does that make any sense?
Yep. I will speak to all 3 of them tomorrow and get that information out for everybody.
Thank you.
And move forward. Anything on a
If I
review
could
of
offer one more thought on that, there's one more thing you need to all know. Today I was in the office, village office, and there are discussions going on with Jeff Smith, Municipal Solutions, for instance, relative to the fire hall. Bond anticipation notes to cover the shortfall in the original BAN, where the project went over the original $400,000 scope. Now you're almost at $600,000. There's a little, and Anne Marie, God bless her, was a little overwhelmed. There's a lack of dialogue when Jim left between Jeff Smith and what things need to be done from the village as far as issuances of new debt incurredness and so forth. And not for nothing, but I think that whether it's Baggett, Laredo, or whoever, someone's going to have to help those girls, in my opinion. I mean, they're doing a wonderful job, but we probably need someone in there with their treasurer / CPA background to help mitigate any problems between Municipal Solutions, the grant people, and our commitments from the village to follow through on the paperwork needed.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, I have one thing under new business. I emailed everybody a copy of a letter that I was given from Partners in Kind. Honorable Mayor Douglas Essick and Village of Fredonia Board of Trustees. Partners in Kind of Stockton County is partnering with various talented residents to construct a traveling food pantry for deployment in the village. Our intention is to erect the pantry and keep it stocked for those in need in area parks or the neediest pass through periodically. The purpose of the pantry is to improve the community and gain awareness for Partners in Kind. We respectfully request your permission to deliver and install the pantry initially in Houghton Park near Main Street. We intend to have a couple of members delivering and installing the pantry per your direction and within your specifications. Therefore, any specific direction from the trustees will be followed without deviation. Thank you for your consideration and support of Partners in Kind and our community. We're hoping to make all of our communities within the county a better place to live and play, with a heavy effort on being kind to one another. Did everybody receive that letter that I emailed to everybody and review it?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's everybody's thoughts, please?
I'll start on that if you don't mind. First question, they call it traveling, and what does that mean in this? And they talk about erecting something now. I got a feeling that we're probably not going to allow them to erect things in the park in the parks. But if it's a traveling, such as food truck trailer type thing, there's already policies in place through our code department. And all they have to do is apply for that, and they would be able to work that out through them.
It's not.
But if it's erecting something that, I got a feeling we can't just have things erected in the park for such a thing. Although I think it's a wonderful thing to provide for our community. That we do have food pantries in our churches and a few other places in our community that are being utilized. We also will be having, hopefully, the farmers markets on Saturdays. I don't know if they could work along with that down here on Church Street in front of the Village Hall on the weekends. But I do have concern with them erecting things in our parks.
I think it's a nice idea. I think it's something that will be used, and I could be wrong, but I think it's just for non-perishable foods like canned goods and things like that. And I think it's like the little free libraries. Is that correct? It's going to be like a box, kind of like that, Doug? Is that what they had in mind?
I'm pretty sure that's what Larry had said.
Because I thought, did they already put it up there?
I have no idea. I did not give them permission to, so if they did, then it was without village permission, so I don't know.
Okay, I mean, I think it's a great idea, and I don't have any problem with it, but I think they might have already put it up. I thought I saw a picture of it, but I'm not sure. I don't know if they did or not, but we need to maybe contact them and see if.
I don't like the idea of doing something without, asking for permission.
Or maybe they just took a picture of it. I don't know. I thought I saw it, but I could be wrong.
But
They have some things hanging up there, like the little bags with mittens and.
Yeah, no, this was like a little. It was like a little box,
things.
like a little free library, and it had canned goods in it.
Oh.
And I'm okay with it, but we just have to be. I think we need to approve it first.
we also have an issue with what type of congregation. I mean, we're being told that we're not to be using certain parks for different things, like playgrounds and things. And will it cause anybody to be congregating when there's this pandemic going on? I don't know. I mean, I don't know to what extent.
Well, it's like getting a book out of the little free library.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah, well, I don't know what it is, because it says erecting a type of
I was under the
food
impression that
pantry.
whatever
I
they
mean-
were erected could be moved. It was a movable thing.
Yeah.
So maybe we
Well-
can clarify that, Doug, and see what exactly the structure looks like, and we could act on that on the 28th after we got a little more information.
Okay?
Roger and Roger, what are your thoughts about this pantry?
I guess I don't know enough about it. My concerns and questions have already been stated by the rest of you. So if we're pending more information, then I can form an opinion.
I'll agree with Roger also, once I get a little bit more information on it. I know we did approve a dog waste station at one time in the park. That might be an opportunity for us to take a look at that also.
Okay. So if we get enough information, we could act on the 28th if we got it in time?
Sure.
Okay, we'll get more information. I will call Larry tomorrow.
And we can check, you might want to check with our code enforcement too. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Now, did you hear me?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you.
Notes. Okay, there's nothing on the agenda for any other new business.
I have a question on, I checked our village website. I didn't see that the mayor's proposed budget was on our village website. Is there an issue there? It was supposed to be on the website for the community to view.
Anne Marie, you're on mute.
It's on the website.
It is a bit, the link, because the link, I couldn't get the link
There's
to work.
no,
Or anything to work.
Okay, I can check into it. I did put it on there earlier when I got some questions from from residents.
I looked
and it
last
looked
night,
like
I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it on there last night.
Okay.
I don't know.
We are having some issues with our website at taking links. If you've noticed, I've had to cut and paste the agendas on there because it will not take links anymore. It has to be updated. And you have to call the host to do the updating, and the gentleman who hosts our website is no longer around.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it needs to be on there for us to have it legally put out there. Can you check on that?
I know it was on there at one time, Jim.
Okay.
Because someone called me and said that when they went to look at it, the pages were sideways. So they were able to see it, and we turned it back so they were right side up, but obviously something's happened since then.
Right. Okay. Well, if you could check on that. Because I did notice that the mayor did have an address on there about the COVID-19 disaster declaration. I noticed that is on there, but the village budget wasn't on there, at least the proposed budget. And then I did have a question on because of the emergency declaration is so important. Mayor, on paragraph 3, it states that at this point, instead of restricting anyone, the declaration gives the village more freedom to cut through, quote, red tape as necessary. What does that mean, Mayor?
That means, Jim, that we're able to procure things, different things without. Dan, would you be able to assist me on this?
Dan, I mean, Doug, I mean, it's your statement. Procure such as.
Well, what it gave me the ability to do here, Jim, was able to furlough employees at one point here that were non-essential, and to do different things that in a state of emergency that we need to do for the health and safety of our residents. I don't really think, Jim, that anything has been done illegally or unnecessarily so far. We're just following guidelines and making sure we follow guidelines with the county and the state. And this actually gives us maybe some more power to get reimbursed when we have funding, or when funding becomes available, to get reimbursed for different things we do in relation to COVID-19.
Okay, so the red tape would have to do with reimbursement then. Did you hear me? So the red tape would have the red tape would have to do with reimbursement then, is what you're declaring?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Jim, I think what the mayor's saying is that we haven't had to use it. We could use it. It is available to
Well,
us.
yeah, I know.
We haven't had to use it yet, and I think the mayor's statement goes down later and says that.
Yeah, I know that we haven't had to use it, but I was wondering if we had to use it, what it was.
Oh,
Because it was the mayor's statement. I wanted to make sure that he knew what he was talking about there. Also,
Thank you very much, Jim.
oh, thank you, Doug.
Doug, did you get that wording from somebody else? Is that
No.
from like county or state or what?
No, that's.
I don't even know why we're talking about it. To
Well,
me,
it's because it's important. What we should know, the village should know about what we're. This
You don't know what
is
red
a very.
tape- you don't know what tape is, Jim?
This is a very important issue, the emergency declarations and how we handle things in the village and what we could do for our village. I mean, that's what we're trying to get at is how we're going to help our, as village officials, how do we help the people of our community? And what does this do? Then I get down near the end down here, there's a paragraph that describes that we've been acting on contingency plans for essential services. Can you describe specifically what those are, Doug?
Yes, I can, Jim.
Thank you.
One second, okay?
I appreciate
Stop
that.
Stop talking.
No,
What those are like with the, our water treatment, and wastewater treatment employees. We have an agreement with the city of Dunkirk because we are both at like low levels of employment and staffing at those plants, that we would assist each other. And there's been some cross training on employees that we currently have in the village. I guess with my question to you, Jim, would be here is if you have some good suggestions to help out, please do so. I'm kind of unsure why you're questioning everything that's being done right now. I would appreciate that's fine.
It wasn't. I'm asking, Doug, because it wasn't shared with the Board of Trustees, and we weren't involved in those discussions. And I think that we should know. We should be part of this. I want you to offer some positive suggestions moving forward, Jim. Thank you. I am going to. There's positive suggestions all the time here, Doug.
I would like some now, Jim.
So the cross training, we have the cross training between our water treatment plant operators. Which operators are that they're actually been cross trained? Because we should know this. Which operators have been cross trained?
You know what, Jim? It's my job to meet with department heads and determine that.
That's right.
So far right now, I know we had one water treatment operator that went down to the wastewater treatment plant and is being cross-trained in that operation right now. I don't know what you're making such a big deal about.
It's not a big deal, Doug. I'm trying to find out
let's move forward.
What is in place for the emergency that were put in front of us. And then I would like to ask, what more can our village do for the people of our community in this very stressful times? We're going to have to try to get back to an economy that works. We're going to try to keep people safe. Is it possible? How about maybe possibly? Is there something we could do that, seeing how everybody has to wear masks in town, and I see that a lot of people don't. That it's required now to be out in public. Is you should have a mask unless you're 6 feet or more apart, and I see that it's not happening. I know that there's a big shortage of masks. Is there something that maybe the village could do that, considering we're getting according to you, with cutting through the red tape, we're going to get reimbursed for some of the emergency declarations, that maybe we could find a way to help some of the people of our community, or maybe some financing for some of the businesses on Main Street in some way, that in this budget we have coming up, maybe we could find some kind of funding for some of these small businesses in our community that are going to be strained after months and months and months without doing business. These are things that I need to talk to, and it's also very important to know what kind of backup plan. You say you have a backup plan in place. I want to know what your backup plan is.
I will keep the village informed as we progress through this situation here. Thank you. Anybody else?
Good job.
Yeah, a couple things. The mayor's budget is on the website, right between the notice that they're not going to pick up brush from the street department and right before the COVID-19 notification. It is there. I have it opened up and I'm looking at it. Second thing, I don't think we need to be micromanaging the department heads. That's their business, who they're training. I don't think the trustees have to be involved with every little detail that goes on. And again, I would echo what the mayor said. If you have suggestions, rather than just asking questions, what we could do, why don't you come forth with some suggestions?
Anybody else? Okay, I have no more under new business, under old business. I was contacted again via email from National Grid. Right now, with this pandemic going on, I don't think it's the right time to really move forward exactly with LED replacement lighting. We have about 3 different contractors or businesses that have made proposals, have contacted me, not made proposals, have contacted me. And I will forward all that information on to the lighting trustees. We'll do that.
Thank you.
Barker Commons project.
That's us, right?
Also, we have not awarded any bid or contract yet. We're working with Travis, Joy, and the contractor, myself, and our attorney Guard to try figuring out the best way to handle this. What we did, meeting with them and our park trustees, we met via a voice or phone conference call, and it's decided that, right now we're not issuing we're not issuing permits for non-essential work in the village. And even though we could apply for a waiver on this to start working in the park, it would not show good faith that, do as I say, not as I do. So what we need to do is, I'm working with Dan right now. We'll try to formulate a contract that moving forward, it was kind of under the idea that if we don't award the bid to the contractor right now, if we have to go back out for bids later on, that the cost of that would be much greater moving forward. And even though the grant is good until 2021, that is a possibility. But the contractor agreed that he would hold off, and Joy and myself and Travis and Attorney Guard all agreed that's a good thing to do right now. We just have to have the proper language in a contract state that it would not happen during a state of emergency situation that we're in right now. And as far as the state has a pause order right now until May 15th, so everything would have to be coordinated in all those cases of emergency for us to move forward.
Doug, sorry to interrupt you. My understanding was that we would indicate to the contractor that we would commit to his prices, but we weren't going to apply for the contracting, the construction waiver. Is that correct? That the contractor was willing to hold the prices for us, but we weren't going to move forward with a contracting waiver that we could apply to the state for, but we chose not to at this time because, like you said, it really was a conflict with what we were requiring everybody else to do. So we're on board with the contractor, but we are not applying for the waiver. Is that correct?
That would be correct. We just have to draw up the proper language in a contract to make sure that the pause would stay into effect until after a state of emergency that we have here.
Great.
That we're limiting other contractors for non-essential business.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
I have no other old business. Is there any other old business?
Wastewater treatment. Can we discuss that? Wastewater treatment?
Say it again.
Can we discuss the wastewater treatment plant?
I don't think we can. I think that's personnel. I did have a question. Well, maybe this is new. Are we under new business or old business?
Under old business, but if you'd like to return back to new business, that's fine.
No, I just had a question in regard, it kind of follows the lines of the construction. I know that I got 3 calls this week about construction that was going on in the village. I spoke with Trustee Linden about it, and I know that some people contacted the code enforcement officer, that construction was continuing in downtown Fredonia at a new establishment, and when someone inquired about why this was happening, the statement was that permission had been received from the state to continue with that project. I think that if that's the case, we should probably have some documentation in our offices, in our code enforcement officer office, as to that, verifying that and allowing that to continue, because the residents are paying attention and a lot of people are affected by this, and I think that we need to follow through in regard to that. I know Chuck's not with us tonight, but
Yeah,
did you have a chance to talk with him?
No, I haven't. I tried to call him and I didn't get any return on it. They didn't pick up. I know in other places across the state, just like here, there's the emergency stop order on construction sites, and I know other places have been fining individuals for gathering and doing that work, working on construction sites. So I'd be surprised if the state was give waivers, but I guess unless we see it, we don't know. So we would have to request that, and I know that like I said, it's
And
if
I'm
there's
only
fines
bringing
to
it
be
up
given out,
because I
then
had 3 people
they would.
call this week at my house, so I know that they're paying attention, and I just want to make sure that we're aware and we're addressing that issue.
Okay, I will have some further discussion with Chuck on that one, okay?
Thank you.
Is there any other old business?
I got a question for Tony, if you're still on. I saw the truck and crew from Candy down on Vineyard Drive. I was wondering how that's progressing.
Well, they started today doing the bore under the CSX tracks for the new 12-inch connection, water main connection to the Vineyard Drive station. And I guess it went well today. There was a little confusion with O'Brien and Gear. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I can. Yep.
Okay. I had to call Lori Reed because the inspector that they hired, a very qualified man, part-time, didn't really know what was going on. I was kind of shocked by that. There wasn't a lot of coordination with me or them, other than we knew they were going down there today to start. But the way I've got it right now is that their part-time inspector is only going to be working 10 to 15 hours a week, which doesn't make me comfortable. I guess that was the way the original contract was drawn up 2 years ago or before I got here. But, I mean, they're very qualified contractors, and I think it's essential we get this done, and we'll make it work. But they're following all the guidelines. They put in all the safety COVID-19 protocols to our engineers. All the submittals and everything are fine. My question to all of you is, especially you, Mayor, and the board, with this current scenario, CHIPS projects, like trying to finish paving Central Avenue or any other major street paving jobs or oil and stonings, should I hold off on them right now or wait to see how we're doing revenue-wise?
Oh, the CHIPS covers a lot of that, doesn't it, Tony?
Yes, it does, but I want to make sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got things lined up, or did have, but I put everybody on hold because I don't want to, cross the line and doing essential construction projects as the governor has put forth, and B, I don't want to imperil our finances in any way.
I would implore the trustees to continually monitor our revenues coming in and compare those to all our expenditures in the trustees' approved budget at the end of this process here. Something that the trustees and everyone is going to have to look at and keep track of and make sure our revenues are appropriate to fund these.
Well, like Roger Pecos said, though, this is almost entirely funded through the state CHIPS program. And really what we need to find out is if the money is available from the state, if it continues to be available.
Right.
And that's going to be the key, is the CHIPS program. that's almost entirely it.
I guess
All
we're
right, so let me
have to wait for the
let me
state
put-
budget.
Yes.
Let me put this forward to you from a logistics standpoint from Tony Gugino. I've already lost a month, 5 weeks of doing things we normally would do in the village because I'm retaining my people home, working as I need them. We had no brush pickup in April. As soon as I'm allowed to, I'm going to have to do brush pickup, which will probably take 2 weeks instead of 4 days. Oil and stoning normally takes place in June. I've already got scheduled that with the county highway association and everything. And then normally I would start doing the milling of Central Avenue and the 3 weeks of preparatory work like I did last year. And that would be done in late June through July before college comes back. My query is we haven't done anything with the parks as far as grass cutting or anything else. We got the water on everywhere, but I don't know, and all the contractors are worried about this too. We've already lost, call it effectively 2 months of season to get things done. If I can't get things done, either A, because finances are upside down, or B, we can't take care of the basic needs of the village, I may elect to postpone finishing Central Avenue until next year, but doing our normal maintenance, street patching and so forth. I just want you to think about that.
Yeah. Well, at this point, everything's on hold, Tony. Everything's behind the curve. So
Right, and I just want you all to know I am not going one step forward because I thoroughly understand the financials and so forth. And I just want the residents to know we are doing incrementally, and I will do whatever it takes to provide basic services. I mean, now we got this new water upgrade project going on. That's taxing enough for me and Chris Surma and, a few guys. But I will not overstep my boundaries. That's my mission statement to you all.
thank you very much, Tony. And I think the village, our community members would recognize that and understand that things are going to run behind for a while until we all catch up to the new normal. So we appreciate your efforts. Thank you very much.
I do appreciate all the department's efforts in keeping our basic services to the highest quality as very much possible during this time.
Yes, and again, I'm here for you people. I just don't want to go over the top. I'm not starting any major projects until we're all comfortable with it.
Very wise.
Thank you.
Is there any other old or new business to discuss? Okay, then we'll move forward with the meeting portion of this. At a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, duly called and held on the 20th day of April 2020 at 7:45 p.m. via video conference, and public notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given to the news media and conspicuously posted in one or more designated public locations in accordance with Section 104 of the Open Meetings.
Whereas members of this board present at this meeting have read the official minutes of the Board of Trustees regular board meeting of March 9th, 2020, and the official minutes of the Board of Trustees special meeting of March 10th, 2020, and the official minutes of the Board of Trustees regular meeting of March 23rd, 2020, and the official minutes of the Board of Trustees special meeting of March 30th, 2020. Now therefore be it resolved, this board approves the minutes as entered into the official minutes, and be it further resolved that the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Second that.
With a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Britz?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried.
This portion of the meeting is for public comment. Any member of the public wishing to comment shall submit public comments by email to Fredonia Village Clerk at netsync.net no later than 4 p.m. today, Monday, April 20th, 2020. I will ask the comments refrain from remarks that are in poor taste, slanderous, or not germane to any action taken or contemplated by the board, and I did not receive any emails by the allotted time.
Okay. Seeing as though there was no emails except by allotted time, I close the public mayor's report. Received a letter from Festivals Fredonia for us to read, and I'm not sure if I had forwarded it to all the trustees or the trustees on the committee for code enforcement, but that would be trustees Lyndon and Christina. If you haven't gotten this letter, I will forward it to you. It's to re-look at our food truck policy.
We all got that,
Yep,
Doug.
we got it, Doug.
We got it all.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Well, if everybody could look that over. Also, Ryan, if you'd be able to work with Anne Marie to continue to promote the Check on Me program. Apparently that has not been utilized as of this point in time, and it could be very still helpful even after this pandemic. It could be something that could be useful in our community. So figure out some way to promote that, whether we have to do that online or through the paper or on the radio, whichever way we have to do it. I appreciate you working on that. And I would like all the trustees, I would ask you to review your standing, your subcommittees and liaison assignments and expectations. And haven't looked at those and started to work on them, if you would, please. Just an update on our COVID-19 pandemic. I did extend our 30-day extension of our state of emergency. We will continue to follow state and county guidelines. I really want to thank our employees and our residents for everyone's cooperation throughout this. As I explained earlier in old business, if anyone, whether it be any members of the board or our public, could offer any suggestions of positive things to do throughout this. This is something new. This is something that no one has ever experienced before or handled or has any guidelines for. That if anybody could, offer any positive suggestions, that would be appreciated. This is something that I'm relying on everybody. You don't necessarily have to be asked to come forward with a positive suggestion. To this date, I've received very little, so I would appreciate that if anybody does have any positive things to submit those. It's easy to criticize and ask questions and point blame. But again, this is something that we have never gone through before. On all levels of government, officials are kind of handling it first time ever. So please be patient. I appreciate everybody's patience and consideration throughout this, and please continue to handle it appropriately and to continue doing social distancing and when necessary to wear masks and so forth. I would also like, when Tony was mentioning his projects, that the trustees just keep a close eye on our revenues moving forward with our upcoming new budget. A lot of things could change, so please keep an eye on that. I'm saying that because through our two times a week, we have a conference call with our county executive, and he already has asked his department heads to cut 15 to 20% of their budgets. And the governor has already said he's reducing state aid to the schools by 50%. So I'm assuming that our aid and our revenues will be varied from what they were in the past. So please just keep that in mind. And that's all I have. Thank you. Trustee Christina.
Nothing at this time.
Trustee Linden.
Nothing more.
Trustee Bretz.
Yeah, a couple of quick things. I'd like to reach out and congratulate the Fredonia Chamber of Commerce, has been working with the Dunkirk Chamber of Commerce in a program that they've been putting out now. It's called Revive the Revolution. And they've been working hand in hand with each other to help promote small businesses in the area and kind of do a service to some of the small businesses that are struggling. And President Michelle Joy and the board have been working very hard to do whatever they can in this tough time right now. And I'd like to say thank you to them. And if anyone needs any help in the small business world, there's all different things and programs offered through the Chamber of Commerce. And I would recommend that anyone reach out to them, and they'll be more than happy to help work with you. As for anything else, we're all getting through it. We're struggling. I know myself, as a small business, is doing the best we can, try to survive. So let's all just remember that we're all here together, and we're all working hard together, and we can all get through this. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Pecos?
Just a thank you to we just have a skeleton crew working at Village Hall in different places, but to those of you who are working, thank you. At Village Hall, at the street department, our water and wastewater plants, and also our police and fire for being there for the residents. And also a thank you to all our healthcare workers, both in our village and outside of the village. That's all.
Thank you. Trustee Bashaw?
I'd like to echo Roger's thank you. I think everybody's been doing a really good job holding down the fort and performing all the duties necessary to get us through some trying times. And I appreciate everyone's efforts, and I hope the communication continues to occur. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Attorney Guard, do you have anything throughout this situation here that you'd like to address or anything?
No, Mayor, thank you. I'm just working on the municipal solutions contract, and we will have a resolution for the next meeting.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to reports, please.
The first report I have is the fire department report for March. That's a typo, I apologize. It is for March 2020. Fire calls for fire 3, total rescue and EMS 97. Hazardous conditions 3, service calls 2, good intent call 14, false alarm and false calls 12, for a grand total of 131 calls. The Fredonia Police Department report for the month of March 2020. Incidents reported 855, accidents 9, arrests reported 36, vehicle and traffic 14, parking tickets 31, Fredonia Central School calls for service 0, obviously. Domestic incidents in January were 10, in February 14, and for March 30, 66 to 50% increase in domestic related incidents related to COVID-19 and the stay-at-home order. And those are the reports for this evening.
Thank you. Would you mind reading the correspondence, please?
Correspondence received from Rick Davis, Executive Director of the 1891 Fredonia Opera House, amending the previous request to use Barker Common, the gazebo, and the closing of Church Street between Day and Temple from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Sunday, July 19th, 2020 for the annual 1891 run for the Fredonia Opera House.
Be it resolved that the request from Rick Davis, Executive Director of the 1891 Fredonia Opera House Incorporated, to use Barker Common, the gazebo, and the closing of Church Street between Day and Temple for a 5K run on Sunday, July 19th, 2020, from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Day Street to be blocked for the start of the race for no more than 10 minutes, and with police assistance, is hereby approved with the stipulation that the group will be responsible for cleanup and is subject to the direction of the police department and the village receiving a certificate of insurance in the amount of $1 million, naming the village as an additional insured, which has been received.
I second that.
And a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Dina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Britz?
Aye.
Trustee Pecos?
Aye.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried.
Correspondence was received from Mark Mackey, Farm Festival Committee Chair, requesting the use of Barker Common and various street closings from August 21st to the 23rd, 2020 for the 52nd Annual Fredonia Farm Festival.
Be it resolved that the request of the Fredonia Farm Festival Committee to have exclusive access to the use of East and West Barker Common and all requested streets be closed on August 20th through the 23rd, 2020 for the 52nd year of the Fredonia Farm Festival is hereby approved. It's quite a lengthy discussion of resolutions in here. I don't know if everybody got a copy of this. It's pretty much the same as outlined in the past. I don't know if the other trusts had an opportunity to look over anything that they see that we should question, but I'm not going to go ahead and read all this tonight. So I'm going to go right to the bottom and just say, be it further resolved that the village board requests that the Farm Festival Committee comply with all the following. No vendors between sidewalk and curb along Route 20. A number of vendors is subject to the Board of Trustees receive a plan showing the number and location of all designated vendor spaces to allow water hookups from August 21st to the 23rd. No vendor shall sell distasteful adult items. Trash will be picked up as an on-needed basis and nothing left overnight. Walkways will not be obstructed. Electrical wires will be properly protected to prevent accidents. Food vendors shall be located on Church Street in front of Village Hall, and additional picnic tables will be provided in the park. Festivals Fredonia will provide the Village of Fredonia with an insurance certificate showing the Village of Fredonia is additionally insured in the amount of at least $1 million. Copies of the policy will also be provided to the Fredonia Fire Department, the Fredonia Police Department, and DFT for the signage.
I second that, but I have a question about who determines what the distasteful adult items are? Does the code enforcement officer do that?
Actually, I think it's the chairman of the Farm Festival.
The chairman of the Farm Festival?
Yeah.
Who?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And Kara, if you need additional information, Mark Mackey has an outline of that. As part of the Farm Festival Committee,
Okay.
we do have an outline of what we consider distasteful adult items.
Okay.
If you'd like a copy of that, we'd be more than happy to provide it for you.
Okay. Thank you.
I had a question. Is there a backup plan? I mean, if everything backs up and the parks aren't done by then and everything's torn up, is there a backup plan, or will they just cancel?
No, they're looking to actually have it at the fairgrounds if we cannot have it in our location. So again, the Farm Festival and the Festivals Fredonia Committee have been trying to, move forward with a lot of these festivals. But again, with our trying times, we're coming up with some backup plans.
Okay.
And until this is all settled and the governor allows us to do what we can do, and again, with the park grant and the information that we have coming forth on that, yes, we are looking at possibly having it in another location.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, no further discussion. Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Britz?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried. Resolutions.
Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia desires to override the property tax cap, if the village board determines it is necessary to do so, to adopt a proper and sustainable budget for the Village of Fredonia for its coming fiscal year commencing June 1st, 2020, which tax cap is set forth in Section 3C of the General Municipal Law. And whereas proposed local law number 1 of 2020 of the Village of Fredonia in its final form is now upon the desk of the members of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, which is entitled the local law authorizing the property tax levy in excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law 3-C for the village fiscal year commencing on June 1st, 2020. And whereas the proposed local law reads as followed. And again, here's a long, lengthy discussion. This is available for everyone to see. And thank you for shortening this up a little bit for me tonight. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the public hearing be held before this Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia on the 28th day of April, 2020 at 4 p.m. at the Trustees Room, Village Hall, Fredonia, New York, to consider the question of enactment of said local law, and Be further resolved that the village clerk is hereby authorized to cause notice of such public hearing on said proposed local law to be published in the Observer as required by law.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Britz.
Yes.
Trustee Pecos.
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw.
Yes.
Carried.
I will put in the minutes that will be carried video via conferencing.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be resolved that the Observer is hereby designated the official newspaper of the Village of Fredonia for the fiscal year beginning June 1, 2020 and ending May 31st, 2021.
I second that.
Been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Britz.
Aye.
Trustee Pecos.
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw.
Yes.
Carried.
Be it resolved that the following banks are hereby designated the official banks of the Village of Fredonia for the fiscal year beginning June 1st, 2020 and ending May 31st, 2021. Manufacturer and Traders Trust Company, Fredonia, New York. MBIA, Municipal Investors Service Corporation in Clifton Park, New York. JP Morgan Chase & Company at San Antonio, Texas.
I second that.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Britz.
Yes.
Trustee Pecos.
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw.
Yes.
Carried.
Be it resolved that the village clerk is hereby authorized to advertise for sealed bids for the purchase of polycationic polymer potable water coagulant liquid form, polyaluminum chloride water coagulant liquid form, polyorthophosphate, powdered blend inorganic phosphates, liquid chlorine, ferric chloride, and synthetic flocculate for the fiscal year beginning June 1st, 2020 and ending May 31st, 2021. Said bids shall be returnable on May 15th, 2020 at 10 a.m., at which time the bids will be publicly opened and read aloud in Conference Room 1, Village Hall. The Village Board of Trustees reserves the right to reject any and all bids and to accept the bid deemed most advantageous to the Village of Fredonia.
I second that.
Been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Britz.
Yes.
Trustee Pecos.
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw.
Yes.
Carried.
Be resolved that the village clerk is hereby authorized to advertise for sealed bids for metered fuels and water meters for the village's fiscal year beginning June 1st, 2020 and ending May 31st, 2021. Said bids shall be returnable May 15th, 2020 at 10 a.m., at which time the bids will be publicly opened and read aloud in Conference Room 1, Village Hall. The Village Board reserves the right to reject any and all bids and to accept the bid deemed most advantageous to the Village of Fredonia.
Second the resolution.
Been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Britz.
Yes.
Trustee Pecos.
Yes.
Bashaw.
Yes.
Carried.
Be it resolved that Heather Kibbe of 726 Deer Street, Dunkirk, is hereby appointed to the position of Senior Account Clerk at an hourly rate of $19.26 an hour with benefits, effective May 4th, 2020, subject to civil service rules and regulations, and to a probationary period of 6 months.
I second that motion.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Britz.
Yes.
Trustee Pecos.
Yes.
Bashaw.
Yes.
Carried.
Whereas the village requires the services of a general contractor for the fire hall renovations project, and whereas H&K Services Incorporated is offered to perform said services at a cost of $556,800, and whereas the village considers this project to be essential, as delay will cause additional damage to the building and may pose a health risk to employees. Therefore, be it resolved, the mayor is hereby authorized and directed to enter into an agreement with H&K Services Incorporated as the general contractor for the fire hall renovations project.
I'll second the motion.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Fritz.
Yes.
Trustee Pecos.
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw.
Yes.
Carried.
Whereas the village requires construction, administration, and management services for the fire hall renovation project, and whereas Wendell has offered to perform said services at a cost of $47,300, and whereas the village considers this project to be essential, as delay will cause additional damage to the building and may pose health risk to its employees, therefore be it resolved, the mayor is hereby authorized and directed to enter into an agreement with Wendell for construction, administration, and management services for the fire hall renovation project.
I second that.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Fritz.
Yes.
Trustee Pecos.
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw.
Yes.
Carried.
Whereas the village requires engineering services for the elimination of the existing chlorine gas system and installation of a new chlorine tablet system at the village water treatment plant. Whereas GPI has offered to perform said services at a per diem rate with an estimated cost of $6,000. Therefore, be it resolved, the mayor is hereby authorized and directed to enter into an agreement with GPI for engineering services not to exceed $6,000.
I second the resolution.
Been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Fritz.
Yes.
Pecos.
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw.
Yes.
Carried. Is there anything for the good of good for the business?
Actually, one last thing. When I thanked everybody, I wanted to also specify there was, I believe, 26 volunteers in our fire department that responded to calls this past month. I wanted to thank them for that.
Okay. Anything further?
Are we going to have a resolution regarding the wastewater treatment plant anytime soon?
As far as?
Staffing?
Yes, I should be, be able to let you know here very shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Any other business? Can I ask for a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. Trustee Christina.
Yes.
London.
Aye.
Trustee Britz.
Yes.
Pecos.
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw.
Yes.
Carried. Thank you, everyone. Good night.